Hello and welcome to the Verified with me, Mustafa Kedavo. Today I have Dr. Ousman Gajigo. This time he's not here as a commentator, he's here to introduce himself as a politician. Hello, Dr. Gajigo.
This is something new.
This is something new. It's interesting. It's interesting. I said that at the beginning, that you are not here today as an economist or to criticize Barrow. Today you are in the clear as a politician.
Right.
It's a wow moment for a lot of people.
I'm getting used to being considered a politician, but
because you were effectively a critic of the government.
Yes.
But in media descriptions, usually we say an analyst, and
yes.
then if you are a little bit more clear as to your position, then we call you a critic.
Yes.
And then now you are effectively an opposition. And before we go into your attempts, which is ongoing to register a political party, let's get to understand, because before when you appear here, we have always a subject.
Right.
And today you happen to be the subject. Let's discuss, who are you? Like, where did you begin your life?
I was born in Fatul, in URR. That's where I'm from. That's where my mother is from. But also, I'm also a native of Sabak Sanjal, which is in Upper Padibo. That's where my dad is from. So my dad used to be a teacher, and in his first posting was in Fatul, where he met my mother. And that's where I was born. Yes. So I was born in 1977. But as we know, the life of a teacher in the Gambia is very mobile. So I moved around a lot as a kid. So I've attended at least 4 primary schools.
In which places?
In URR, in LRR, in also in NBR. So after I finished my primary school, I attended Nusrat. So lived in from that point onward, lived in in Bundu. And of course, given that my parents are from Badibo and in Kantora, my childhood, holiday periods were always spent going to those communities.
Yeah, but you were also raised, I suppose, in a multicultural family.
Pretty much, yes. My mother is Mandinka, my father is Fulas, my mother is in Jobati, and my dad is. And
you rotate also and stay in many cultures, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very mixed family I came from. So siblings and cousins are married to every imaginable tribe. From Akus, Jolas, Sanhules, you name it.
Interesting. So you went to Nusrat, and from Nusrat you left the Gambia.
No, after Nusrat, I went to 6th form in Gambia High. Yes, but I only did 1 year, and I was lucky enough to get scholarship. That's when I left for the US in 96.
96?
Yes.
That's 2 years after the coup.
Yes, so during the coup, I was still in high school. So
you were still in high school?
Yeah, so when the coup d'etat happened, I was still a high school student.
I was in primary school. I think I might have been grade 1.
I was still a couple of years from finishing high school. I would have, by regular high school, I would have completed high school in 1997, but because I had received a scholarship, I was able to leave before I completed it.
Interesting. So then you went to US, and fast forward, you study economics, or you study something else already?
Yes, I studied economics. I had other, minor areas of concentration like mathematics and French. So in fact, in my bachelor's degree, I did a year abroad in France at Université Standard. So, but economics has always been my main area of focus.
But you are not fluent in French?
No, my French is passable. I've worked in many francophone countries. I've worked in Ivory Coast, I've worked in Tunisia. My French is okay, but not fluent.
Okay. So you studied economics, you worked in a couple of institutions, African Development Bank and so on?
Yes. So basically...
That was the first, or UN, or did you work at World Bank at all?
No, my first job was at Columbia University.
Okay.
So when I finished my education, so I did my bachelor's in Wabash College, Indiana, my master's in California, and my PhD in Wisconsin. My first job was with Columbia University, Institute of Columbia University.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was the economist for the Millennium Project in Eastern and Southern Africa. Yeah, so I did some time there before I went to the World Bank. Then after the World Bank, I went to work for African Development Bank. Then briefly worked for the UN, then returned back at the African Development Bank before I decided to come back to the Gambia.
So you came back to Gambia what time? Because that probably would coincide with the time you started farming also.
Yes, I actually came back to the Gambia before I decided to resign from ADB in 2015.
Okay.
Yes, so since 2015 I have been back. I briefly went back to the ADB in 2019, but that was for a brief period. I had a previous department, division that I was working in, which is called the Development Impact Division, had a very high rate of attrition. So I went back there to help bring that division up. And basically, my arrival coincided with COVID, and even most of the time I worked from home here. But when ADB, I always went there with the understanding that it was for a brief period, because I had already decided to be back in Gambia. So when ADB, let's say, when COVID was waning and ADB made the decision that people should go back, that was when I handed in my resignation. So pretty much from 2020, the election found me here. So basically from early 2021, I've been living in the country.
But you started farming what time?
2015.
2015.
Yes.
So when you started, it was because the first time you met me was back in 2020 or 2021?
There, about somewhere around that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but when you started farming, what were the things you were doing at the time? Like, where did you have farms back in 2020? Because I suppose you started expanding.
Yes. So my first farm is located in Basori, which is the actual location of the farm is between Faraba Bandang and Basori. So in Congo East.
Yeah.
That was where I started, but later I expanded. So I have another farm in Kunjata, which is in Sabak Sanjal, and I have expanded further, and I have another farm in URR, in Fatogo.
So essentially you are going back to your homes aside from Basori, because you have no connection to Basori.
No, I don't. Basori was just an ideal location in terms of the right plot size and that I needed. Yeah, but essentially once I got that established, I went back to these areas where I grew, where I'm native of. So in both Fatoto, URR and Kunjata, Sabak Senjal, I have farms there.
What was that? Is that because of land availability, cost of land, or why did you?
Those were factors, yes.
Yeah.
Availability was there, but also this is the area you are from.
Yeah.
This is the area you know. They've always been close to my heart. Whether I was going to school in Nusrat or whether I was in the US, whenever I came on holidays, which was very frequent, I always visited those areas. So I maintained my connection with the community, with the people, individuals who were my friends when I was growing up, when I was a student in primary school. They still remain to my friend to this day.
So what sort of things do you start, or what sort of things do you have at the farms?
Yeah. No, one of the things, this is a very good question because there are a couple of things we grow there, and one of the things I don't like doing is just doing something because people are doing it.
Yeah.
And I tried to, introduce many things that are appropriate for the Gambian climate, but that were not common here. For instance, we started growing pineapples here, a significant amount years ago.
Yeah.
We imported the suckers from Ghana, from Ivory Coast. At some point, we had over 70,000 pineapples under cultivation in Basori. And we sold everything locally, it wasn't exported. We also probably have the first commercial level avocado farm in the country. So currently we have over 1,000 avocado trees in my farm in Basori. Yeah. We also have this Asian tamarind, something we know as timimo in Mandinka. Yes. Or in Fulau we call Jabe. So you have this is something that on a commercial level is just not around. So we've grown this again. We have hundreds of these on our farm. So and we also are growing avocado not only here in Basori but also in Badibu and in URR. Because frequently you hear people talk about, oh, you cannot grow this and this in this part of the country. It's too hot there. But they've never tried, and people would believe those proclamations. So one of the things I wanted to demonstrate is that, some of these things, there's nothing wrong with trying. If people are even telling me avocados, they will fruit in your compound, but will never fruit in a garden. Which you can understand why people would say that, because if you
often maybe in compounds, they've been tried in compounds many times.
Yeah, and they fruit. Now the question is, why is it that in gardens, for many people, they don't fruit? The answer is very simple. An avocado needs to be constantly irrigated. No matter how mature it is, it needs to get water. Rainy season, dry season. If it doesn't get water in the dry season, it won't fruit. It needs it.
That's why it fruits in the house.
In the house, you're watering it even without being aware of it. It could be next to a soccer way, it could be next to a place where you wash the dishes or where you perform ablution every day. So you are watering it whether you realize it or not. But in the farm, in an orchard, you have to purposefully, actively water it. And if you don't do that, they will not fruit. They can grow to a certain level, but unlike oranges or mangoes that will still fruit once they reach a certain level, if avocados will not, no matter how big they are.
So but you also, aside from avocados and you also have cashew and some other kind of indigenous trees.
Oh, yeah, of course. We have other indigenous. We have mangoes, we have cashews, we have citrus, lime, oranges, grapefruit. It means it's very diversified. So we do even plantain. So one of the other things we've tried to do on a large scale is because right now all the plantains you see in the Gambia are imported. We don't have commercial level plantain products, but you can grow plantain here. So in our farm we have plantain on a large scale. We've started recently, and they are producing already.
You've also started some kind of a fish farming. Not some kind of a fish farm, it's a fish farm.
Yes, also aquaculture. Not only do we have aquaculture, just taking, but we also in fact do hatchery. That means actual production
of fish.
Yes, that was something that took quite a while.
So you do the eggs and you...
Exactly.
That's the facility you have in Bruce.
We have a facility in Willinkama where we started, and now we've expanded the aquaculture all the way to URR. But in the process, we also trained a lot of young Gambians, because when we wanted to start, it was very difficult. I had to bring some specialists from Ghana. I had to, get official permission to bring certain kinds of fish from outside. It took a lot of months, but we brought those specialists. They trained some young Gambians on how to do hatchery, and one of those young Gambians is still doing hatchery at my facility. And they are also going to be training other young Gambians. And we've had training programs free of charge to other young Gambians who wanted to learn about aquaculture. It's a promising field, I think, a promising area of business, and an opportunity for development for the country.
But have you been able to sort of have your head above water, sort of reasonable amount of returns?
It is a very high return activity. Of course, as a general, I do this as part of that agricultural production, the agricultural farm. So I don't separate it, on its own. But even if you were to look at its operation separately, it is easy to actually make quite a bit of return. The Gambians eat a lot of fish on a daily basis. So
what sort of catfish?
Yes, catfish. Right now, I'm doing mainly catfish. But of course, the opportunity to do tilapia is just as feasible. The difficulty with aquaculture is something that would not be, the main difficulty is feed. As anyone doing poultry will tell you, this is our main constraint. But once that is taken care of, it's a very, very...
how would that be taken care of?
Well,
because that's you probably would need some kind of a large-scale government investment in the sector, maybe to support some of the local growers.
Yeah. Well, you obviously need government intervention here, because there has to be recognition at the policy level that there are some constraints that only the government can address. And when you are talking about feed, by the way, fish feed, poultry feed, they share almost 90% of the ingredients. So if you address one sector, you've addressed all of it. The difficulty here is the following: the cost of the inputs are very high. So maize is very high. It's difficult to get. We know the price of fish. So fish meal is an ingredient in the fish feed. Is also very high. So if those costs are very high, then you cannot sell the. If you want to make profit, you have to sell the fish at such a high price nobody would buy. Just like the same problem facing poultry entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So the problem here is that the government needs to do the investment that makes those inputs affordable, which means investment in the production of maize, for instance. Like Gambian maize productivity is very low, not only by world standard, but even by African standard. Gambian maize productivity is low. If you can increase maize production and reduce its cost, then the feed will become affordable, which means the people in the aquaculture, people in the poultry, then will become a viable business, and then it will have a knock-on development.
All right, so when you studied, you come back, you started farming. This takes you across the country many times. How
Yes.
often do you tour?
No, basically, you have to, if you have a farm, the reason when I decided I was going to go into farming, I knew you cannot do this as a part-time work. You cannot do farming from a distance. So I knew the first thing you have to do is you have to resign and work on it fully. So even for me, the consultancies I was doing a few years back, because anytime I had to do a consultancy, I had to leave the country because I never did any local consultancy. I only did once in 2015. So all my consultants are outside. So even those, I had to decrease them. So once you are into farming, you have to do it full time. You cannot do it part time. You cannot do it from a distance. So which means I have to visit my farms very, very frequently. The only farms maybe I don't have to visit frequently are ones where the supervision is done very well. Then I don't have to go there on a daily basis. But the ones up country in Badibu, the ones in UR, I have to go there all the time. So literally going to my farms means I have to go around the country. So once I depart here, go through Basel, I have to drive all the way to Fatodo. Fatodo is just about 5 kilometers from Koina. Then upon return, you cross to go on the north bank and drive all the way towards Badibu. So literally, I have to go around the country. Trying to supervise and manage these firms and giving their locations, there is no option.
All right, so this is essentially what you're doing right now. Before we get to some of the things that you were doing on the sides as an activist, what interests you in politics? Why did you decide that you were going to go into partisan politics particularly?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be critical of the government.
Yes.
I am critical of the government.
Right.
But I'm not.
There are a couple of factors. You see, one is the fact that you are in the country here. You cannot fail to notice all the things that are going wrong. After all, I have a lot of programs here and on other platforms where I list, all the things that are going wrong. Yeah. As a keen observer of what's happening, and given my background, as a Gambian citizen, I observe what is going wrong, but I also analyze the things that are happening in the government at a deeper level to know how badly things are going. The other thing also, that gives me a very good picture into how things are going wrong is I literally go around the country all the time. So I just mentioned here that I go around the country, when I'm just looking after my farm. But that's not the only reason why I go around the country. A few years back, as part of working on my farms, I noticed how difficult many Gambian farmers have it. Not only traditional growers of groundnut or millet or maize, but particularly the women farmers in horticulture. If you listen to our government most of the time when they're talking about agriculture, their whole policy boils down to the following. Beginning of the rainy season, we give out fertilizer and maybe some rice seeds here and there. End of the rainy season, we buy the groundnut. But that is not the totality of agriculture in the Gambia. You have livestock, you have horticulture, and there are thousands of women across the country that are into horticulture. So one of the things I noticed is that there is almost nothing from the government for this group of farmers. If you see they get any assistance, it's either through their own efforts, through philanthropic groups, or through projects. So I started a foundation that's called Seeds for Prosperity, where I help many communities with these village gardens with vegetable seeds, some irrigation water, some fencing, and other things, fertilizer. I started that about 4 years ago now. So just to give you an idea of the scale of the activity. In our latest activity, we covered more than 80 villages and towns, covering every region of the country.
Yeah. 80 villages?
80, over 80.
That is the people you support?
The number of beneficiaries.
Okay.
Yeah. So the actual number of direct beneficiaries is in tens of thousands that we've been able to support. But
what form of support does this take?
No, we provide them with vegetable seeds, for instance. These things are very expensive. We know the cost of living. Go to a shop and ask for the cost of a tin of vegetable seed.
Yeah.
These are very expensive.
Okay.
And many times when these people go to buy seeds, they find that the tins are open, and when they sow them, the seeds don't germinate. Many of them have problems of fertilizer. Some of them, to this day, there are many gardens in the country that have wells, very deep wells. They don't have water. Some of them, the fences will collapse. And this is the dry season and no animal is controlled. So if your garden is not protected, you lose everything. So these are some of the support.
Water?
Huge part. Yeah, so we drill boreholes for several communities, that didn't have boreholes.
Well, how do you raise money for this?
Most of it is my own, but I've using my own resources.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I've also done is, since I've worked in many institutions outside, and I have many friends who are abroad, so I would basically ask those people that I know. I would do some fundraising, and whatever they brought, I always more than match it.
Okay.
So the minimum I would that when I started was to when I first started this the first year we started, we covered 50 villages.
This was when?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yes. But over time, I noticed as I went around the country, met more communities, I noticed that the need is very high. Even communities that the government will tell you, oh, they have boreholes, the water is not enough. Go to Dankungu today, or go to Kanekunda in Upper Badibo. When those areas actually have boreholes, but they cannot cultivate every inch of the farm, because if you water today here, tomorrow the other people will have to you have to wait and wait for an alternate day so that the other people on the other sides can water. So how can a vegetable achieve its productivity if you are alternating on the days that you are watering? So in terms of, I want to make clear, I get support from other Gambians. So I've approached some former colleagues that I used to work with in the World Bank, UN, and other people I know in the US. So they would raise some amount, but I always make sure that I always match that amount. That was the initial goal, but my contribution now has always been more than doubling whatever I'm able to raise.
So you go around this country, look at these conditions, and sort of think that, and maybe if Barrow can't fix this, let me try and see if I can fix it.
Yeah, no, so what's happening is, as you go into this community, I just don't go and say, hey, you need seed, here is the seed, and go. You interact with this community. I mean, if I'm going to provide, assistance, first I need to find out what is the need. So you have to interact with these people in the community, talk to them, find out what are their constraints, how it's affecting, their livelihood, so that whatever assistance you are bringing is actually relevant for them. So you talk to them, you get an understanding of the difficulties that they face. And in the Gambia here, you don't even have to be a trained economist or an educated person to know that Gambia, to achieve development, agricultural sector has to be the sector that is prioritized. So for me, talking to these people gave me an insight into how badly the government is mismanaging the economy, how how this sector that should be prioritized is actually being neglected. It's not actually being given the budget it's needed in the government, and people are making do with donations, with their own using their own efforts. Some of these women, you go to Sali Kenya, but each year it is the women themselves who fence their garden each single year. And the number of women in that garden is in hundreds, and that garden has been there for years. But thank God, with our interaction with that community, we were able to help them with their first borehole, and we've been also helping them over the years with seeds.
Interesting. And so now you have decided to. But these contacts of yours, they're not aware that you are going into politics right now, or you have decided?
Oh, many of them are aware of
aware.
it. Yeah, they're aware of it. And one thing I've made quite clear, my interest into politics and this activity I'm doing are quite separate. And all of these communities I'm reaching at, it's like my support to that community is not contingent on it. When that was being done, the idea of going to politics hasn't entered my mind. So it's two completely separate things. The villages that have received support will continue to support it, will continue to receive that support. Whether or not you express your support for me, it's not going to affect you receiving support or the scale of support. Because what motivated me to start this project it's actually the same reason that I'm going to politics. So whether or not I succeed in what I'm doing in politics, this project will continue. So it's actually a foundation that has been set up, and there are other people in it. But one thing about this foundation is that nobody receives income. There is no overhead cost. There is no office. Everything that is raised, it goes 100% into vegetable seeds. Yeah, it's completely lean. There is no administrative or overhead cost whatsoever.
Interesting.
So everyone involved is only on voluntary basis.
Interesting. Have you had any interactions at any point with other political players? I mean, I know you have started a process right now to formally register a political party.
Yes.
What's going to be the new political party?
Yes, we've started the process. We the process of registering a political party is you need to submit at least 10,000 signatures from registered voters, covering all administrative areas in the country. We have done that. We've made our submission last week. So now we are waiting for IEC to do their normal verification as they do with all applicants. And then once we get declared, we will formally announce. But as of right now, I can tell you the name of the party that we've submitted to IEC. The proposed name is Patriotic Progressive Alliance, PPA. Yes.
Okay. And then you are there with are there any other people with you?
Of course.
Prominently in the public space?
Yeah, there are other Gambians there, though again, this is not a political party based on who is there.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have spoken to would ask who else is there, with the expectation that whether it's someone public.
Yeah.
One of the first things those of us who, there have been a lot of groups, a lot of individuals, many of them who like to remain private, but a lot of them are not well known.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the reasons, the key reasons here we went into this is to bring about change. If your goal is to bring about change, you definitely don't want to recycle people who have been active in other legacy parties. Yeah. So this is it's not a one-man party. It's a group right now. Even any name that will be in any position in that party when it comes out, all positions are interim. Once we get the official registration, the process of electing or selecting officials in that party will be an open process. So that it will be open to anyone who is convinced by our programs, our vision for the country.
Interesting. So you have filed the process. Have you had already a website and policy documents and things that are already ready to be published?
Yes.
Or published already?
No, they are ready to be published, but we don't want to jump the process.
Yeah.
We would like to wait until we get formal communication from IEC, that our registration application has been successful. Then when that is done, immediately that is done, all these documents about our policy positions on every sector, website, all communications that are necessary for every Gambian to make an informed choice, to know about what we stand for, what we are fighting for, that will be immediately available to the public.
Well, give us a gist of why this is important, because I know there are tons of political parties in the Gambia, and the terrain is quite crowded. You have a couple of parties that are currently doing well, some are doing not well, not so well. What do you hope to do differently, and why do you think this is going to change anything?
Well, currently, the situation in the Gambia, that we have everybody, I think, most Gambians are in agreement that things are not going well, and change is needed. Now, I know currently many people understandably believe that we have too many parties, and I know more will be coming out. Now, in answering your question, like why this additional party? First of all, I want to make quite clear, being in electoral politics has never been an aspiration of mine. Yeah, has never been an aspiration. So this is something that's been a recent thing. So if you sit down and reflect why you want to be in, why we need change in this country, and you realize where the problems lie, then it becomes quite clear why one has to build a new foundation. Because like many Gambians, when I believe that some action is needed, not just commenting on events, but to take part in the electoral, active participation in electoral politics, I looked at the possibility of joining, of lending my support to an existing party. But for the most part, what I have noticed is that most of the existing parties are either part of the problem, or they really don't have any realistic chance of dislodging the incumbent. So then you also have to sit and reflect. If you are going to go into this, you shouldn't just look for the easiest path. You should look for the path that will work, that will actually bring change. So building a new party as opposed to joining an existing one is very challenging. You have a lot of work to do on the ground. You have a lot of engagement. You have to build a whole sort of institutions for that party. And if done the proper way, if you are doing it the proper way, a lot of these foundations take quite a while to build. And this is something we have been doing for quite a while. So when you realize that the existing ones are either part of the problem or they are just, I'm not saying 100%, but for the most part, the ones that are at, and this is evidenced by the fact that many of the parties in the coalition 2016 are part of the government now. So I'll give a general name to them. These legacy parties, many of them are either part of the problem or the ones that are not really on their own right now. They don't stand a realistic chance of dislodging the incumbent. And therefore, as difficult as it is important to establish a new party.
So you think it's also, there is a fundamental connection between the vehicle that takes you to the presidency and therefore the efficiency of that presidency also. So for example, we say, state capture, what do we mean by that? Because there is a fundamental connection between the funding of a political party and what the president comes to do.
Yes,
or
indeed.
Do you think the same applies to political parties?
No,
that you need a different clean vehicle that doesn't come with a lot of baggage or any baggage at all.
Indeed. Let me frame it in a different way from an individual point, like speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, what motivates me? I know, for instance, somebody were to ask me, why do you want to become president? My first answer is, being in the electoral system, being in the electoral system, I know that becoming a president or any political leadership has never really been my goal. You know, for the right person who will bring about the real change in the country, presidency is a means to an end. The problem that we have in the Gambia today, in the political landscape, particularly in the current government, is leadership failure. What is the role of a leader? Bringing development into effect, implementing changes so that the standards of living of the people, the welfare of the people can be improved. So if somebody comes into government where that is the goal, the presidency is simply a means to an end. The problem we have is in many of the political parties, and certainly in the case of the current government, the current NPP-led government, being in power or access to wealth, this is the ultimate goal. You know, because that is reflected in the bad governance, in the failure of policies, in the bad implementations that we are experiencing in this country. So for me, I don't view myself as a traditional politician in the sense, because I have so many avenues, you know, where if wealth or money was my goal, there were far easier paths for me to follow. You know, this current path would actually require some sacrifice on my part. And the way I have lived my life up to this point, I think is a testament to that I am not attracted into this particular venture to make money or to seek power, but to effect change for the Gambian people.
Could it have been, because I know you complain a lot about going around and all the things you've come and the complaints. You complain a lot. I mean, you used to have issues with the service at the level of the women farmers in Gujarat. Is that frustration connected to this, or do you think that fundamentally the reason why you started is because you feel that we needed a completely new vehicle? Because without a new vehicle, you probably couldn't, even if we change the government, we probably can't change the system.
It's a combination of both. The fact that I do go around to every corner of the country and implementation of that project has exposed me, you know, because when I visit some of these communities, I don't just stop at one village where I'm doing. I usually visit many of the neighboring villages. So I've had conversations with people, and that conversation is not always centered around the issue of agriculture, but almost all aspects of their life. You know, if you are going to go to a village, for instance, you have to travel on the roads connecting them. You know, sometimes you may not meet somebody there where you need to meet them because they are at the health center, or they'll tell you about problems they are having with education. So if you go around the country, you get a very clear picture than just sitting in the urban areas and even reading about things. You can read about poverty rates that are increasing in the country, but that gives you a sanitized view. You really want to understand poverty, see what people are eating, you know, whether they're able to have 3 complete meals a day, and whether the quality of the food, the nutrition, is it rich enough. So that has played a key part. Going around the country, talking to people, getting a first-hand view of the problems in the country, that has definitely contributed. Of course, now when you think about, okay, what is the best way to bring about change, you have to think about the vehicle that you use. Because just changing the individuals, you know, in government here and there, while the system remains the same, you are bound to perpetuate the same thing. You're just going to have different characters, different faces, different names, but the same failure that created that problem, that motivated in the first place, will come back to haunt you again. So in order to bring a real change, you know, you have to make sure that the vehicle itself, if you want to have an idea of how a party will come and rule the country, have a look at how that party's governance structure is currently, how it is handling the democratic features within its own party, how it is actually being run. If a party is structured around one individual and is run in a dictatorial manner, or is run as a private enterprise to benefit one person, just make so you have no doubt that if that party comes to power, it will operate in the same way. No party is going to change overnight, you know, from what they have been operating, from the way they've been operating over the years. So the vehicle matters, the motivation matters.
The issue is we have seen a lot of political parties that were established and they came. Right now we can't go into detail about the policies because they have not published them and I haven't read them either. But maybe when I read them we'll probably have a time to discuss them. But the issue is there are a lot of people who come into politics and when they started, I mean, they got an opportunity to maybe join the president or merge with other political parties. And they made quite a number of compromises. Yes. Even if you are not going to make compromises that are detrimental to the cause, but are you open to compromises, including with the president?
Well, compromise, that's a vague word.
Compromises in an alliance.
Oh. Not an alliance with the president. That's completely out of it.
You do not think Barrow is on the course at all?
No. I think
you don't think there is a chance to salvage anything?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Listen, some people have told me before at some point, Gajigo, we think you would make a good minister. You should join Barrow, bring your expertise. I've told them, I think that misunderstands the nature of the problem. The problem we have in the Gambia is leadership failure that starts with Adama Barrow. It doesn't matter how many brilliant people you bring into this cabinet. As long as you have President Adama Barrow at the top, they are not going to be, successful in bringing any change in the portfolio that they are brought in. Yeah. So to answer your question, there is absolutely no chance that me, Ousman Gajigo, will go into an alliance. There is nothing President Barrow can offer me that will entice me to join. Because what has motivated me to go into this is not seeking a position or some position of influence for its sake. I believe the fundamental problem we have here is leadership failure. And as long as he remains a leader, that failure will be present. So there is no chance whatsoever of me aligning or going to an alliance with Adama Barrow. Absolutely no chance. With
the opposition?
With other parties, it depends. I am open to it in principle. But there are principles that I must follow. Any party or any group that I go into alliance with, they have to share the same goal of bringing development in the country. That has to be their absolute priority. And basically ready to sacrifice for the country. Their priority shouldn't be to see what positions they can get. So but also we have to be very clear here. The problem is not just Adama Barrow. Adama Barrow is a product of most of the legacy parties in the Gambia. Now, I'm not saying all, but for many of his legacy parties, including all of those that are currently in alliance with him, and some others, it is not an option for us going into alliance with any of them, because they are part of the problem. What we need in the Gambia is a fresh new start. These legacy parties have really let us down. We need them out of the, if we really want any change, not a fake change, because we all know how we came up with Adama Barrow. We just said, let's come together, let's remove Yaya Jammeh. For understandable reason, 22 years of dictatorship is long enough. You wanted the man gone, didn't care who replaced him. But now we know it's very costly if you don't pay attention to who you replace the leadership with.
There is a particular issue in the Gambia, and I personally have frustrations with it often time. I remember I have a discussion with somebody who told me Barrow must go, and I said, okay, so if Barrow goes, replace him with what?
Yes.
Because often we are into this obsession that the leader has to go. And I'll tell you something I've told a lot of people before. We've had a situation when Jawara came, he overstayed until the time everybody got desperate and said Barrow has to go, Jawara has to go. And so when Jammeh came, you have folks, including my dad, who supported Jammeh, not because they know him or they care, but because he kicked out Jawara.
Yes.
And they don't like Jawara, they are self-Tiba people.
Right.
Okay? And Jammeh overstayed until we had Barrow. And when Barrow came, folks didn't care who Barrow is because they don't even know him. he is not known in the country, and they just are happy that he kicked Jammeh out. So then in all these phases, our focus has been wasted on not who is coming, but who is going.
Yes. Indeed.
And this is fundamentally part of the problem, isn't it?
It's a major part of the problem, and I think you've really diagnosed this thing very well, and it's important people really realize this point, and we realize that now if we want a real change, we have to change the way we are doing things, and that means not changing superficially. Superficial change is just removing who's in power, but understanding how that individual came to be produced.
Yeah, but also to scrutinize the one you replace Barrow with. So in other words,
exactly.
You will be subjected to more scrutiny.
Exactly, and that should be the case. If you are not willing to be subject to that scrutiny, you shouldn't get into this game, into this venture. It comes with the territory. It is, and this is something I wish Gambian electors would do very well in this coming election. So a lot of people are talking about alliance. We need an alliance in order to remove Barrow. If there is no alliance, we cannot remove Barrow. Perhaps, it's understandable reaction if a lot of political parties are coming into existence. But I tell people, don't get too distracted by the number of parties that are coming. First of all, many of these parties that are coming on are not going to actually field a candidate for the presidential election.
Yeah.
We know why some of these people get into party.
Yeah,
some
in
of
the past presidential election, we had 3,
yeah,
or 4.
No, 4.
Yeah.
But look at all of the people who at the last minute hitch their bandwagon to NPP in the hope that they will get an ambassador position or a ministerial position.
Yeah.
Many people who form these parties, it's a business investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should not be too focused quickly on just removing Barrow, as you said. We've done that over the past 3.
We've done that since 1965.
Yes. Our focus now should be, if we remove Barrow, who is going to replace him? What is going to replace him? What and who are both important?
Yeah.
What sort of system and which individual or groups of individuals will be leading that system? So Gambians, the alliance is important, potentially. I agree that if there's an alliance, the chance of removing incumbent will be much higher. But before you do an alliance, we need to wait until the field clears. Let's wait to see what the field, the potential candidates who all are. Not all the parties have come out yet.
And they are tested also.
Yes. Let's make sure they are tested. Let's find out what their program is for the country. What their visions are. Let's make sure that whatever solutions they are proposing to the country are relevant to the country's needs.
And their strengths.
Their strength, their weakness. Let's test them on the field. Let's see over the course of weeks and months how they've responded to comments, concerns, pushback from other candidates. Let's see how they are able to handle the heat. Then we will have an idea. Okay, here are now the crop of candidates that we have. Now we have information to decide among this crop of candidates who are we going to coalesce around with. So talking about coalition without having a clear idea of who or which group of people are going to lead that coalition is a bit premature. So I think your point is very important here. Focusing on that, waiting to see which candidates now, once the field clears, are suitable candidates, then we are thinking about what system, what individual will come after we remove the incumbent. So I think that is very, very important. So that's why I tell a lot of people, the talk of coalition right now at this stage is, we should keep it at the back of our mind. But pushing for it at this very stage is a bit premature. Yeah.
And what do you think are the chances of the opposition in 2025? Because I said this because I didn't see much, 2026 I should say, I didn't see much changing in terms of what happened in 2021 and now in terms of Barrow's popularity. Because in the head of the 2021 election, Barrow's popularity was still on the decline. But he was still, to my amazement, he was still doing better than all the opposition leaders.
Yeah.
Okay? And right now, Barrow's popularity is still on the decline, but he's still doing well individually. than all the political leaders, except if they coalesce.
Yes.
Even those who they claim stand a chance,
Yes.
except if they coalesce.
Yeah.
That's an indictment, considering Juan Barrow is the most scrutinized political leader, I think, in this country, in the history of this country, I think. And secondly, he is also being exposed left, right, and center every day.
It is, and again, this is why this comes back to why I wanted to be part of a new political party rather than look for any existing ones. Because the Gambian people have passed a judgment.
Yeah.
In the 2021 election, they looked at the parties and the candidates that stood and made a decision that Adama Barrow may not be the best candidate under the sun, but is certainly better than the alternatives. And if you look at
that's quite a thing to think about.
it is
don't you think so?
Yes, it is an indictment, and I believe.
I don't with all his buts.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, comes
Because Adama Barrow
but
is.
he's still, Ousman, he still is coming, I mean, according to the last survey, individually,
Yes.
he's still better than all the others.
Again, it's an indictment on those legacy parties. And the Gambian people have spoken, and they've spoken, and they have signaled that in these surveys, that, you know, as bad as Adama Barrow is, there are other political parties, existing established politicians, whom they wouldn't want to replace him with.
But then how do you, how do you figure out what it is that they see in these individuals that they don't like and avoid that? Like what's the thing that turns the Gambian voters, or some of them, against those individuals that you're probably going to figure out? Or you just think that it's just integrity issue?
I mean, it's part of it, but I mean, it's a combination of many factors. You have to convince people. That convincing people is on the responsibility of the political candidate and parties. You are not entitled to anyone's support. I am not entitled to anyone's support. Nobody's entitled to anyone's support. If that support is not there, the onus is not on Gambians to explain why not. The responsibility is on the candidates for failing to convince the electorates that there are better alternatives than the incumbent. The people don't have to articulate it. I cannot read everyone's mind. I can give some ideas as a voter. Until this point, as a private citizen, I can say about why I didn't think other candidates were not suitable replacement. But trying to read everyone's mind is actually not needed. The responsibility here.
Well, you surely believe Barrow is incompetent.
Absolutely.
Just as you did it back in 2021.
I solely believe that. And I believe he needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Now that I am entering this field as a political aspirant, as a candidate, now I have a responsibility to convince the people not only that Barrow is unsuitable as a leader.
Not just as a voter as you were in 2021.
Yes. But now I have an added responsibility of convincing the Gambian electorate that what I am bringing in, both as an individual, but as a party, the programs that we are advocating for, when we come in, we will do something far better. Not only far better than Barrow, but far better than other alternatives. So the responsibility here, as an opposition, you have more than one responsibility. People have to first realize that the incumbent, it needs to go. It's not doing a good job. But you have to convince them that you present a far better alternative. Up to this point, what we have been lacking in the Gambia is credible alternative. That's what we've been lacking. In 2021, we lacked it, and the Gambian people gave their opinion, their voice, that no credible alternative has been offered.
In summary,
and they lost convincingly.
In summary, because I don't want to go long, it's already too long. I don't want to go a lot into specifics because already, like I said, I haven't read the policies yet. And so, but in specifics, what do you think would be radically different from what we already know? Because I mean, we know the political terrain already, and we know those who are there, we know what they do, we know their limitations. What's going to be radically different in terms of, particularly in terms of your interaction with the voters? What's going to be radically different?
No, I mean, first of all, you talk about a leader has to be has to communicate with the people. You have to be in touch. When was the last time Adama Barrow had a press conference? Even when he travels around the country, it always turns into a election type rally, which is not really a good avenue for really meeting the people to understand. You know, those are not the situations where somebody is asking you tough questions. When events are happening in the country, the president rarely even comes out and says something, even when they are happening directly from his office. The issues about this gala protest, it was when even other the Gambia asset, when he came out, it was as if a hostage was being forced to speak before cameras by the captors. You know, so a big part of changing the system in the country, like I said, always starts at the top. There is this saying by a famous organizer would say something like people, ideas, machine, in that order. So having a change in leadership, you know, where the leader is capable, has integrity, you know, has competence there, and is motivated by what is in the nation's interest, that alone, the fundamental shift that will bring into the country is huge. You can, you know, nobody can read Adama Barrow's mind, but you can read his actions. The capability is not there. So the other thing is priority in terms of, you know, in the Gambia here today, anyone who tells you the priority is not agriculture doesn't understand the development challenges we are facing. The priority, and especially food security, that should be the priority of any government, and that is something that will be clear in our program once we get the launch on the way. So that one I can tell you from the very moment, you know, this will be something that you will see is fundamentally different with the current regime. The current regime has roads as their priority, but even roads they do very badly. Go as the residents of Brufut today, which are supposedly have good roads there. Yeah. So in this country today, you know, agriculture, if that is not your priority, you know, and as a consequence of that, food security, then you have not really properly diagnosed the country's problem. And if you have not diagnosed the country's problem, then you really don't have any solution that have a hope of addressing the problems we face.
All right, before I ask the final question, have you started reaching out to some like-minded individuals to see, to inform them that you are into this and that hopefully you will be launched soon?
Yeah, we're reaching out to people. I mean, it's a long list. Obviously, like I said, this is not I'm not running as an independent where everything will be revolving around me as a candidate. I made a conscious decision to form a party so that the party will have a program, and that program and everything will be a structured institution. You know, so obviously this is something we are doing, and thankfully with the fact that the news has come out, people are reaching out to me, and we are saying that our door is open. We had to identify some provisional positions for the REC when we are submitting, but those are all only for the sake of administrative processes. Only positions that have been identified to REC will be interim. But when an actual convention is done, upon approval, that will be an open process. So we will reach out to people. There are many people that are still on our list we haven't reached out to. If you, I'll tell anyone listening, please reach out. This is something that is an open door. We want to build something new, something different. If you are a Gambian who have, you are a Gambian citizen and you would like to see real change, not just change in individuals, but change in the whole system, please reach out to us.
All right, so when do you think your registration process will be finalized? Is there a timeline?
Unfortunately, that's not under our control. So when you submit the documents to IEC,
they can do this in infinity.
Well, I hope not. They told us that they have a verification process that will take several weeks. So,
several weeks.
Yes, several weeks. So we will wait for the process to unfold. We have every confidence that they will do things the proper way, and hopefully they'll do it timely. But we will, as soon as we get our communication, everyone will know. And I think also by law, IEC also tends to have a press release when a new party is formed. So people will hear it from IEC, and they'll suddenly hear it from us, because we will do our official launch once we get that.
All right. Thank you so much for being here to grant to this interview and to discuss this new project.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.